Today on Hearts of Heroes. When Hurricane Florence flooded North Carolina, the U.S. Coast Guard rushed in.
560, I've got 2 people down here that need to get out.
We all joined the Coast Guard to save human lives, and it's a bonus when we can do other than that, too.
And later, once the storm passes, more heroes step in to help clean up.
You see the local community coming out and helping each other. That's the part that I love.
The heroics performed by our armed forces in many cases is unmatched.
As those of us on the east coast of America know all too well, hurricanes can be devastating. They can have violent winds, life-threatening storm surge, and deliver feet of rain. Thankfully, when the coast is in danger, there is one heroic group who is always on the job, the U.S. Coast Guard.
Rocky Point, North Carolina is a small, rural community just outside Wilmington. Even with the threat of hurricanes, those who live there wouldn't think to live anywhere else.
It's beautiful. I mean, I'd recommend anybody to come and live down here because the weather is just so gorgeous for people.
But in September of 2018, that gorgeous weather got turned upside down.
Hurricane Florence was gaining strength and widening. It definitely looked like it was going to have a drastic impact on our borders and on the coastline.
Like many who live in hurricane country, John and Mary Williams did not heed the initial evacuation orders, hoping that the storm might not be as bad as projected.
I'm stubborn. I didn't think it was going to be that bad. Come find out, it didn't pass through like I was hoping it would.
It was a hurricane for the history books. Florence cut a swath more than 500 miles wide. Most devastating in all of that, the slow pace. Crawling along at just 2 to 3 miles per hour, it was able to drop more than 18 trillion gallons of water. That meant unprecedented flooding in both North and South Carolina.
That area was very saturated with rainfall, but more importantly, that area was right next to the Cape Fear River. But with the storm still lingering over the area and the heavy rainfall, that Cape Fear River was still flowing very high and going to continue rising.
The water was coming down the road like there was no tomorrow, flooding everything out in its way.
It just kept coming up higher and higher, and the wind just kept getting stronger and stronger. And I was just very scared, very scared.
All the doors were inside the house. They were on our bed, and they were scared because the water was over their heads.
With the power and cell towers out, John and Mary and their 6 dogs were stranded without any way to contact the outside world.
That water, the way it was coming in, I didn't think we were ever going to make it out. That water was just coming in so fast.
I've got another 12 inches before it comes in the house.
Coming up, to save John and Mary, the Coast Guard team has to make a dangerous rescue with one of their own dangling by a wire.
The most dangerous thing we do is hoist, especially with somebody on the line.
But first, a safety tip.
It's never too early to evacuate ahead of a hurricane, especially if authorities are encouraging you to do so.
If the authorities are saying to evacuate, it's for a reason. Your safety is at risk. Though you may think you can ride it out and be safe, no one can predict the extent of the damage severe weather causes.
And if you're feeling unsafe but are unable to go, find someone in your community who can help. Family and communities are about togetherness. We all look out for one another. Together, we can build a better, safer future.
In September 2018, Hurricane Florence inundated parts of the southeast coast, claiming several lives and doing $24 billion worth of damage. North Carolina was the hardest hit. 19,000 people made it to shelters, but many tried to ride out the storm at home, and they were now in a dire situation. Among them, John and Mary Williams of Rocky Point, plus their 6 dogs.
I mean, you couldn't even see the trees. They were just underwater, completely underwater. And all I kept saying was, where'd all my trees go? And they were just underwater completely.
With no way to communicate with those trapped in the floodwater, the Coast Guard began early morning search and rescue.
We're doing what we call a first light flights, where as soon as the sun breaks over the horizon, we're taking off and we're going to find people. We're in the area just searching for anything we can find, anything we can do to help.
With everything underwater and no way to make contact with survivors, these kinds of rescues are often like looking for a needle in a haystack.
So when we got on scene there, those houses had water up to the roof. It didn't take long for us to see the people in those houses waving for help.
We were waving our hands for them to come because we wanted to be rescued.
The house was surrounded by trees, 100, 125 feet tall. On all 4 sides, high power lines. So as a flight mechanic, you're not just worried about tangling your cable up. You actually have a rescue swimmer attached to that cable. And it's the most dangerous thing we do.
They sent me down on the cable. I was lowered next to a submerged car. I was able to traverse through the water up to a porch where I met this guy. He says, I've got 6 dogs, my wife and I in this house that, is partially submerged, and they're looking to get out.
6560, I've got 2 people down here that need to get out. We are looking at 5, 6, it looks like a whole bunch of boxers, a couple of lefts.
We're all in the cabin thinking, there's no way, he said, we're picking up 6 dogs.
Our first responders are trained for this. However, this isn't easy, and adding animals into the mix only adds concern and greater bravery to Brad and the crew.
So, the crew on the scene had to determine if the rescue was even possible.
Our helicopter is very weight limited, very power limited, very fuel limited. We can't exceed our limitations. We got to worry about how many people we can fit in our helicopter, safely in doing so, too.
After conferring, the crew decided they would try to make the entire rescue work with multiple trips.
We leave that cage is safe, okay? Let's get your wife out, we'll bring your wife and the 3 dogs, and we'll come back for you and the dogs. And 6560, rescue short. Yeah, Roger, I'm trying to get the female out now. We're looking for the basket to come down. I'm gonna try to load the female into the basket with a couple of these dogs.
It becomes very intricate as far as how we're going to get this basket to the safest location to not put these people any more risk than we have to. So I don't want to bring her back out into the water. There's down power lines, there's debris, there could be snakes. Who knows what's in that water?
You sit right down inside here, we'll get this dog in here with you.
They had the basket drop down, and he was going, come on now, I'm gonna put you in with 1 dog. And I was like, me? And he was like, yeah, you.
Once Fitzpatrick got Mary and the dog loaded in, he gave the all clear to Wiseman in the helicopter.
And I held my dog so tight, and we just went up in the air together. After I got up in the sky, I was a little scared, but not that scared. Just very happy to be rescued, really. And them men did a beautiful job.
I'm an animal lover. I have 2 dogs myself. That was exciting for me. We all joined the Coast Guard to save human lives, and it's a bonus when we can do other than that, too.
We'll try to get you and a couple more dogs. I can stay back here. When they come, I can help start loading the rest of those dogs.
But just when it seemed like everything was going according to plan, rescue swimmer Fitzpatrick was confronted with a brand new challenge.
Hey! Hey!
When we got on scene for the second time, we noticed more people coming out of the houses trying to get the attention of the other helicopter.
How y'all doing? Anybody else with you guys?
Coming up, help Help arrives, but some people still don't want to leave.
I encouraged him to come with me, but he wanted to stay back with his property.
I'm not leaving.
After Hurricane Florence slammed into North Carolina, rescue swimmer Brad Fitzpatrick and his team from the U.S. Coast Guard were on a daring mission to rescue survivors. As they were attempting to airlift a couple and their 6 dogs out of a flooded area, they realized that there were still so many other people who needed their help.
Anybody else with you guys? We're gonna get a helicopter right here. What's up?
We got some issues with that.
Okay, what's up?
I'm not leaving.
It was very emotional. You know, I'm telling him, hey, we don't know what's happening with the water, if it's still rising, what the situation is, and when we can come back to get him. So I encouraged him to come with me, but he wanted to stay back with his property.
This whole area is underwater and the river is still starting to rise. They're real worried that these rivers are going to come up even higher. I'm trying to
I've been looking at the chart, the crest chart on NOAA satellite, and it's saying it's cresting.
They're saying right now it's peaking, but they're just worried no boats or trucks can get into this location, so we're trying to get you folks to higher ground.
It's very important that you listen to these trained professionals like Brad Fitzpatrick. They know the dangers better than anyone and are there to make sure you don't put yourself in even greater peril.
Still, the man was adamant, so he stayed behind while his wife was lifted to safety. Once she was lifted up, Lieutenant Smith brought the helicopter back for John Williams.
It was really tricky at first because I had to put the basket between a car and their porch stairs, which was probably about a 10-foot area.
And there was still the issue of how to get the remaining animals out alive.
There's all these animals that need to be rescued, and I've got dogs. I'm a dog lover. I wouldn't want to leave my pets behind either. I didn't want to send the dogs. I was very uncomfortable that they might get finicky and try to jump out.
Which is exactly what happened. So when one of the dogs got spooked, Fitzpatrick secured him back at the house so John and the other dog could be pulled out to safety. With 4 more dogs remaining, the crew welcomed help from other rescue divers. And in no time, the dogs were being whisked away and eventually reunited with their owners.
The Coast Guards, they were wonderful. They saved our lives and these babies' lives. And I thank them so much, and they couldn't have done a better job.
The Coast Guard and other first responders are always dedicated to saving human lives first, but they make extraordinary efforts to save pets and animals whenever possible.
I'm just happy we're able to get those people from a bad scenario to a good scenario. You know, it's their worst day. It's one of our best days.
John Williams is slowly rebuilding his longtime home after what could have been a fatal mistake.
I'm going to evacuate when they first announce it. I'm not going to hang around this time like I did the last time. Hurricane Florence taught me a very bad lesson. How I lost everything, almost come to losing my life, my wife, almost come to losing her life, and our animals because of my stupidity.
Knowing that we were there, knowing that we were able to get not only the people out, but their animals that they love and they consider their family as well, it meant so much to me, a dog owner, knowing that we didn't leave anybody behind. We got the family, we got their dogs. You know, we did the best we could, and we actually made a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very nice of you.
Thanks to the readiness and bravery of the United States Coast Guard, as well as other federal and state agencies, John and Mary Williams and thousands of other survivors came through Hurricane Florence with their lives.
I think my dad's a hero because he goes out every day and he saves lives, even though it's upsetting when he's not around. I love him and think he's a hero.
Awesome, buddy.
Coming up, in natural disasters, even the first responders need some support.
You see the local community coming out and helping each other. That's the part that I love.
But first, another safety tip.
Hurricanes can upset lives and damage anything in their path. So if you find yourself unable to get out before the storm, Follow a few steps to increase your odds of survival.
Board up your windows, turn off propane and other utilities, and get to the innermost sturdy section of your home, like a bathroom, downstairs closet, or even a hallway. Take shelter there.
Listen to the authorities, and you'll be moving yourself and your family one step closer to a better future.
In 2018, 500-mile-wide Hurricane Florence hit the East Coast, devastating towns and causing billions of dollars in damage. When a storm like Florence hits, a special branch of the military, known as the National Guard, is often called in. They serve a number of different roles, including helping people and first responders tackle that daunting task of cleaning up and forging ahead after a storm.
Whenever we first initially rolled up in here, we came down as a security force package to help to aid the local police force. After the first couple of days, we transitioned into logistical support.
Logistical support covers basics like passing out food, water, and supplies.
And then as you start assessing and evaluating your home, we're going to give you more support and those things along that line, you know, patch up holes in your roof and things, make sure everybody is comfortable at night, so hence the tarps and blankets. And then our third tier that we've moved into now is cleaning supplies, hygiene kit.
Often called civilian soldiers, the National Guard differs from other branches of the military. Unlike the Army, they can hold regular jobs outside their military duties. They are also under the command of the state government instead of the federal government, which is why they are the first ones called in whenever a state is faced with an emergency.
That's the other thing is the local New Bern Police has been very helpful in supporting us in everything that we need. All of the first responders here, fire, EMS, Red Cross, everybody is here just to help. You see the local community coming out and helping each other, and that's the part that I love, is neighbors coming out to help neighbors and everything. I think that's fantastic.
And while it's the National Guard's job to support local agencies in times of crisis, there is another group whose job it is to support the National Guard, as well as the entire armed forces.
The USO, or United Service Organization, was started during World War II as a means to provide entertainment programs and overall morale support to the families and members of the U.S. Armed Forces.
So when Hurricane Florence damaged the oldest operating USO in the country, Sheldon Yellen from our sponsor Belfour jumped in. They had the honor of helping this organization that does so much to help our men and women in uniform.
Everything good?
Yep.
Thank you for all that you're doing.
How are you, man?
You good? Everything good?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for all that you're doing.
No problem, man.
Thank you.
No problem.
When you look across this country of ours and you see the opportunity that you see, it is from our military, it is from our first responders that allow the semblance of order in our society to take place and to allow us the opportunities in front of us. That's why it's an honor to be here today.
Our mission is to connect our men and women in uniform with their home, with their family, and with the nation. And you guys represent the nation.
Without your trust and belief, we don't get to perform. And so for that, know that we're grateful, and it's an honor for us to be able to serve you.
Opened in 1942, just after the start of World War II, this center is the oldest continually operated USO in the country. They provide a number of invaluable services to the members' families of the military and their families. These programs include literacy for children, job services, and relocation assistance, not to mention giving aid and support to the men and women of the military while they are giving aid to others.
We all have a heart for the military, support them, and we weren't going to let Florence stop us from doing what we're doing. It's our pleasure to support them when they're out there.
These people are given the best they got to give in some of the worst of times. And I want to quietly say to you, you are heroic. And we thank you. We salute you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And we salute you.
She's a hugger.
Get over here. Get over here.
From the dedicated men and women serving in the U.S. Coast Guard, the National Guard, and the USO, we give our deepest thanks for all of you who stand tall in the face of danger. I'm Ginger Zee, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.